Have you ever wondered what it truly meant to live by a code of honor so strong, so unbreakable, that it defined an entire warrior class for centuries? Welcome to the world of the samurai. More than just warriors, they were poets, philosophers, and guardians of a tradition that shaped the soul of Japan. The story of the samurai begins in the turbulent mists of the Heian period, around the late 8th century. Japan, fragmented into warring clans and distant provinces, needed order. The imperial court in Kyoto was losing control over the farthest reaches of the land. Power was decentralizing, and local aristocrats started hiring private warriors to protect their territories. These warriors were the early samurai, men trained in archery, horseback riding, and swordsmanship, bound by loyalty to their lords, known as daimyos. At first, these samurai were simply military servants, but over time, they evolved into a distinct class with their own rituals, philosophy, and honor system. By the 12th century, they had risen to political dominance. The Genpei War between the Taira and Minamoto clans in the late 1100s was a pivotal moment. The Minamoto emerged victorious and established the Kamakura shogunate, Japan's first military government. The emperor remained a figurehead, but real power now rested with the shogun and, by extension, the samurai. This marked the beginning of a new era. For the next 700 years, the samurai weren't just soldiers. They became rulers, administrators, scholars, and enforcers of justice. They created a culture deeply rooted in loyalty, sacrifice, and discipline, best expressed through the code known as Bushido. Bushido, or the Way of the Warrior, was not written in a single book but lived in action. It emphasized rectitude, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. It taught that death was not to be feared, only dishonor. A samurai would rather die by his own hand than live in shame. This led to the ritual of seppuku or harakiri, a gruesome form of suicide meant to preserve one's honor after a failure or disgrace. Their weapons were as much spiritual tools as instruments of war. Chief among them was the katana. More than just a sword, it was the soul of the samurai. Forged through centuries of technique, folded steel, and ritual, the katana was revered not just for its sharpness, but its symbolism. It stood for precision, purity, and deadly calm under pressure. Samurai were not only skilled in battle, but in thought. Many practiced calligraphy, poetry, tea ceremonies, and Zen Buddhism. They believed that cultivating the mind was as vital as training the body. The best warrior was one who could defeat his opponent without drawing his sword. But the life of the samurai was also drenched in blood. Wars between rival clans were brutal and constant. The Mongol invasions of the 13th century brought foreign enemies to Japanese shores. Although the samurai fought fiercely, nature intervened. Powerful typhoons, called kamikaze or divine winds, destroyed the Mongol fleets. These storms were seen as proof of divine protection, further reinforcing the samurai's sense of destiny and spiritual purpose. The Sengoku period in the 15th and 16th centuries, known as the Warring States era, was perhaps the most violent in Japan's history. Samurai lords battled one another for supremacy, leading to legendary figures like Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. These men weren't just warlords, they were nation builders. Ieyasu eventually unified Japan and founded the Tokugawa shogunate in 1603, which ushered in over 250 years of peace. Ironically, it was this peace that began to erode the role of the samurai. With no wars to fight, many samurai became bureaucrats and administrators. Their swords became ceremonial, their battles turned inward, fighting corruption, maintaining social order, and struggling to find meaning in a world that no longer needed their steel. Then came the 19th century, and the West. Commodore Matthew Perry arrived with American gunboats in 1853, forcing Japan to open its borders after centuries of isolation. The samurai, still wielding swords and bows, were suddenly face to face with cannons and rifles. The Meiji Restoration in 1868 sought to modernize Japan. The samurai class was dissolved. Their privileges were stripped. The wearing of swords in public was banned. Some samurai resisted, such as in the Satsuma Rebellion led by Saigo Takamori, a man considered the last true samurai. But the modern world had arrived. The age of warriors was over. Or was it? Though the samurai no longer walked the streets of Tokyo or served feudal lords, their legacy lived on. The discipline of Bushido was adopted into Japanese military culture and later into business, sports, and education. Martial arts such as kendo and iaido keep samurai traditions alive. Even global cinema, from Akira Kurosawa's films to modern-day action heroes, owes a debt to the stoic, principled warrior of old. The samurai have become more than history. They are a symbol of commitment in the face of chaos, of principle over convenience, of service over self. And in a world that often glorifies power without purpose,